So the other day I was watching a YouTube video, and it was a Catholic priest who, with a smile on his face, was saying that all transgender people have a mental disorder and that they need help. And then I turned on Saturday Night Live and I listened to Dave Chappelle talk about Kanye West. And in the joke about Kanye West, he started saying that, yeah, Jewish people do control Hollywood, and we shouldn't say it out loud. So he perpetuated the prejudice as far as I was concerned. He actually pushed it further and just said, keep it quiet. Prejudice itself is totally against what Yeshua taught. You know, when I use this example quite a lot. He came to the Samaritan woman at the well. She was a woman in that time period. A man talking to a woman was not acceptable unless it was his wife or his daughter. He was talking to a Samaritan, which the Jewish people and the Samaritans had conflict at the time. He didn't judge her as a woman. He didn't judge her as a Samaritan. And he treated her with complete respect. When I hear these statements of prejudice, and I want to tap into what the word prejudice actually means, I'm going to read the dictionary definition here. Definition of prejudice: an unfavorable opinion or feeling formed beforehand without knowledge, thought, or reason. Definition 2: any preconceived opinion or feeling, either favorable or unfavorable. Definition 3: unreasonable feelings, opinions, or attitudes, especially of a hostile nature, regarding an ethnic, racial, social, or religious group. And number 4: such attitudes considered collectively. And then it gives the example: the war against prejudice is never ending. And the 5th one is damage or injury, detriment. And the example is a law that operated to the prejudice of the majority, to the prejudice of the authority, giving it a detriment of the authority. The reason I wanted to read the definition is because one of the things it doesn't say in the definition is, but it definitely taps into, is the concept of broad generalities. Each one of us is an individual. Each one of us is here as an individual part of God. Each one of us here is to express our authentic self in the way we feel we should express our authentic self. And having an unfavorable opinion and a formed feeling beforehand of a broad general group is prejudice. It's absolutely prejudice. And racism is prejudice, and Islamophobia is prejudice, and because you're broadly generalizing an entire group as saying they are this. And I have never met one group of people in the world, and I've been to 30 countries, and I've never met one group of people in the world who didn't have butt heads and wonderful people and all the phases in between. I've never met one group of people who haven't had victims, who haven't had bullies, who haven't had, religious people. I've never met one group of people who hasn't had the same diversity as any other group. And I've never met one group of people that didn't come from the collective, broad, generalized group of humanity. Because we're all the same. We're all one in God. We're all one in Source. And when people go out and use these broad generalities just to hurt an entire group of people without knowing any of their circumstances. For instance, that priest saying that all transgender people have a mental disorder. I mean, that to me is just a completely unloving thing. It's an un-Jeshua-like thing to do. It might be a Christian-like thing to do, but it's not a Jeshua-like thing to do. And when I look at the terrible things Kanye West said, I mean, what a horrible, despicable individual, right? To say those things. Is he hurting? Is he suffering? Well, the suffering he's hurting is that he's losing lots of money now. But to step out and say those terrible things about a broad, generalized group of people is not loving. It's judgment. It's fear. It's trying to wield power over an entire group. What a terrible thing. What a terrible thing. When Dave Chappelle goes on Saturday Night Live and says, he, quote unquote, he's not wrong about Jews in Hollywood. Go to Hollywood. There's lots of Jews. He says, but you don't say that out loud. He's basically doubling down on Kanye's prejudice, Kanye's anti-Semitic remarks. He's just saying, don't say it out loud. Don't talk about it out loud. I think it's sad when people have to empower themselves by belittling others, have to empower themselves by judging others, have to empower themselves by pushing their personal beliefs on others, by broadly generalizing an entire group of people as being wrong or mentally disturbed or out to get us all. I think it's a terrible, terrible thing. And I think the only way it stops, because I'm a firm believer that you don't come on and complain about something without offering a solution. The way it stops is when you see it, say something. When my father was still alive, and I had some pretty big epiphanies in my life and was no longer going down the road towards racism that he was leading me down, he one time said something really terrible. He said, well, if you're heading south, because I was getting ready to leave for Georgia, he said, if you're heading south and you want a good meal, he says, stop at and he gave me a specific name of a restaurant, which I'm not going to use. He said, the food is made by, and then he used the N-word, but it's still good. The food is made by N, but it's still good. My response to him was, you're a bigot, which didn't go over well with my father. I called him out on it. And the rest of his life, I never heard him use that word. But I often say that when someone comes to you with an issue, with a problem, label it. Label it for them. Put a dot on it and say, that's what that is. That's what you're doing. That's what you're experiencing. And when you're able to label it, it makes them look at it. That's racist. It's not racist. The other thing I like to say is it goes in all directions. Prejudice goes in all directions. The African American people have suffered tremendously, and more than white males ever have, right? But I often hear people spin it the opposite way and say all white males are blank. And I think that's wrong too. That's also just a broad generalization. I've also had people tell me, I said, by saying all white males are, I said, that's actually a racist statement. I've been told that black people can't be racist. Well, I've met black people who are very racist against white people. I've met people who absolutely belittle white people because they're white, because of their ancestral experience. But the only way we let go of any of this stuff from our past is to start something new, to release the past, to move forward. You know, I broke out of the path that my father was pushing towards me. I treat everyone that I run into with respect. You know, I've dated African American women. I have friends who are Asian. I have friends who are Jewish. I have friends of all races, creeds, colors, and I don't see them as anything but my friends. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see people who are made of love be so immersed in their fears that they have to belittle people, to be so immersed in their fears that they have to put people down and make up stories to make their story right. And, I say, let's just say we're all humans. Let's get rid of race, creed, color, sexual orientation. Let's just say we're human. And if you feel that way, that's great. You're not part of a broad generalization. There's not a line, a demarcation that we have to fight against. Mother Teresa said that she would go to a peace rally, but she wouldn't go to an anti-war rally. And if you're a part of a marginalized group, then don't be part of the group. Be part of the change. Be part of the thing that's stepping up and creating love into the world. I love people of all faiths. I traveled through the Middle East. I've met many beautiful Muslim friends. I've traveled through Israel, made beautiful friends in Israel. I've been to Africa. Same there. I've been to South America. Same there. People all want and love the same things. But it's the people who do these broad generalizations that says that group is bad and that group is bad and that group is bad that are the cause of the majority of our turmoils. And we need to come to the space of saying, I am creating a beautiful space where I am. And you have the ability to do that every day, to go out into this world and love somebody without even seeing a race, creed, color, or sexual orientation. To go out into this world and just express that you recognize them as another aspect of God in front of you. And if you can't do that, and if you can't see it that way, then I would question your faith. I would question your beliefs, because you're the one who's judging. You're the one who's choosing for them to be bad when there is no real reason for it. When you looked at those definitions of prejudice, a preconceived opinion or an unfavorable opinion or feeling formed beforehand without knowledge, thought, or reason. There's no reason for it. There's no knowledge about it. The only thing is your thoughts are from your own beliefs, whether they be religious beliefs or just racist beliefs. They're your beliefs, and you have the ability to release them at any given moment. Prejudice has no place in love, because there's no part of love that is any different than any other part of love. And the ones who are prejudiced can't release prejudice if they don't see love. There's a wonderful story of the racist guy who had a social worker, a black woman social worker, who helped him get back on his feet and get a good job and do all these things. And the day he had his swastikas removed from his barn, his tattoos, he asked if she would please come and be there when they were removed. And she gladly did it. So there's a glimmer of hope. Someone who was racist against black people, who found a loving, caring person who came forward and showed him how and helped him get out of that mindset. And they're friends to today. And on the video I saw about it, he pulls up into her yard and she runs out and they hug each other. It was a beautiful thing. It was a complete change. And we can change everybody in this world just by showing them love, no matter what their race, creed, color, or sexual orientation. Well, whoever they are, smile at them. Give them love. Let them see the world as not a bunch of broad generalities, but as one with God and one with each other and humanity. And that's how we change the world, by being the change first. And that's my thought on this, guys. You have a great and equal day. And I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.